Greetings, everyone. Like I said yesterday, today I'll be reviewing Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb, Master of Fantasy. Originally, I thought Robin Hobb was a British man, but it turns out she is a woman born in California, raised in Alaska, now lives in Oregon, I think, or Washington State, something like that. So I was way off. Yeah. This is a chunky boy, 837-ish pages, and it's dense. And I've noticed something about some books do this thing where they have like an introduction, like in italics before the chapter starts. And I can't think of any book that does that ended up being a bad book. You know, Ender's Game did that. Stormlight Archive did that. Jade Legacy, or Jade City, I don't think did that. But there was, Joe Abercrombie did that. I mean, that was loved by everybody but me, so I guess that counts. So, Royal Assassin ended on a really, like, a sad kind of note. Like, everything went downhill. The whole Buckkeep kind of fell apart. Fitz is kind of he got kicked out and he's living with a wolf in the woods, and his girlfriend wife Molly has kind of left him, and apparently she was pregnant with his baby, and she ends up like living with the guy who he considers his father figure, Burrich. And it's just like somebody said in my Discord that I'm on that it's like the world's against Fitz, and it's kind of like the story of Job in the Bible. Like, everything's against him. Like, in the Bible, God's against him. This is kind of like just the world and fate. So you got this guy, the Fool, who's kind of like his counterpart. He's supposed to be the catalyst. The Fool is the white prophet. He can tell the future, or he can see like possibilities. And the catalyst opens up new possibilities so that interesting things can happen and like fate can be changed. This kind of thing. It's really interesting. So the first part of the book, he's becoming more like a wolf. He's living out in the woods with his wolf, and the wolf becomes more human the longer they spend time together. But you can also get to where you can't come back from it. You can just become an animal, and I guess there's these other people. He meets these other people that are like witted. They call them the old blood, and like one of them has a bear, one of them has a raven. There's all these other ones. I think one of them got hired to come after him later on. But usually they're all like together because everybody in the world kind of hates people that have the wit. You get the skill and you get the wit. So a lot of the book was him and the wolf, and he's like, sometimes he'll have skill dreams where he's seeing all these other things happen, like the deal with Molly he sees a lot. Verity, the guy he's looking for, ran off on this quest and disappeared and let the whole kingdom go into ruin. He keeps having contact with him briefly, and eventually he realizes he's just going to have to go over him, and then like Verity skills to him, and he imprints him. We learn a lot about how the skill works in this book, and he imprints him with this command to like, come to me. It's like he goes and tries to kill Regal, and he almost does it. He kills a bunch of dudes, but he fails, and he has to run away. So he keeps making wrong choices, but then it's like, what do you do? It's like, that's the thing about Regal was so evil, and he's so like self-centered and selfish, and like one of these rulers that just wants to be a king because it's like a thing to have. Like his older brothers always had more than him or something, so he just wants to like take their possession. This is like having the kingdom as a possession of him. He doesn't want to rule. He doesn't want to be a good ruler. So he's just like a brat, like a child mentally. Which he finds out later when he takes over his mind. He sees how, like, he was really scared of him this whole time, but he really didn't need to be because he does have power because everybody's, like, listening to him. But that's what I don't get. Like, all these people, the inner duchies, they accepted Regal as their ruler, and they're kind of like, in Game of Thrones, the southern, like, the High Garden people. It's like, they got life better than everybody else. They don't have to deal with all the raiders on the coast. But it's just like they're putting it off till later. Eventually they will have to deal with the raiders from the coast, but they're so short-sighted they don't see it. And you end up like rooting for just everybody to die. It's like everybody's against Fitz, and you just like, well, fuck everybody then. You just want the whole world to die, and eventually you get to this tipping point where he does get the ability to like wipe out his enemies. You're just like, oh, fuck them then. Fuck all these duchies and just kill everyone. Men, women, children, they all just kind of submit to this king. So like, who cares? Just wipe them all out. And then kill the raiders as well, the red ship raiders. I mean, I'll leave the coastal duchy people alone. But all these inner duchy people, like, they have the fancy, the rich folk, just wipe them out. Who cares? They're all worthless. It's just depressing. This whole series was just depressing. And at one point, he goes to the Mountain Kingdom on his way to find Verity, and then he meets up with all his people that he's lost, like the Fool and Kettrican and Chade. But like at one point he sees Kettrican, he's talking about remembering his mother, and he says they were both like tall and fair. So I thought like Kettrican was going to end up being his sister. Like at first I thought maybe she'd be his mother, but I don't think she was old enough. She's like Verity's age or younger, I guess. But it wouldn't make sense for her to be his sister because she ends up having like the wit a little bit too, and she can kind of communicate to his wolf. And the Fool gets brought into his pack now, so then she almost becomes part of his pack too. And then he finds Verity, and Verity's like this old, decrepit, wasted person, but he can like restore himself. But you keep learning more about this skill ability. The skill, like apparently there's this old woman named Kettle that comes with him, and she was like an old coterie member that she could like make herself live really long for like she's 200 something years old. So if you have the skill, you can imprint these commands on people. You can go into their mind and like drain their life force, or you can just outright kill them. But if you kill them, you lose the skill yourself. And you can also just like subtly command people to do things. That's how he was messing with the red ships. So it's, you can like make them think things, but they don't know they're thinking it. Or you can like at the end, he pretty much he could kill Regal with the skill, but he would lose the skill. So instead, he makes him like a subservient, fanatical person to like obey the true ruler, which I guess at this point is Patience. So like he didn't have to lose his skill, but he also fucks Regal over, and then I think Jade assassinates him in the end too. Didn't really say, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But Regal got his comeuppance, but like he ended up like having to kill all these coterie members that were like kind of taken over mentally, and maybe they weren't as bad as they would have been if they hadn't been imprinted. So it's kind of like you don't get any. This is not a satisfying book. It's a good book. It's well written. It's like you're never bored the whole time. Loved it. There's a couple of points that dragged a little bit, but not enough to like make me really bored with it. But I think like Golden Fool, somebody said is like even worse because she spends like 50 pages or something describing this castle. But I think I'm used to Robin Hobb's writing now that I know I'm going to like all the rest of the books. Even though the Rain Wilds people say aren't as good, I think I'm going to like them. But, it's not satisfying. You don't get the endings you want. You don't get all the, like, relationships to, like, come to fruition. And, like, there's unrequited issues all over the place. But it's just like, jeez. Like, Kettrican kind of loses Verity because he becomes a dragon. I mean, there's this whole road that was made with the skill. So apparently that's another thing you can do with the skill. There's all these things you can do with the skill. But I guess we're going to find out in the later books maybe like what the rest of them are. Maybe it doesn't involve the skill at all. But, yeah, the way they all kind of connect their brains together and have these coteries and they share power. There's like so many elements to this magic system. It's like not really explained very well because nobody really knows how it works. So I was talking about the old lady. She made herself young. Yeah, so then like Verity, he could like restore this sword that he's been carving these dragon statues with and like make it brand new. So I think he could do that to himself also, like maybe make himself young again. I don't know. But then like there's this whole garden of this stone that they found. This is like the main thing. The Elderlings is really just like this marble kind of rock that you chip away at and you put your memories and thoughts and loves and everything into it so it has like its own not really personality, because it doesn't get the personality from the memories. It just kind of has a hunger to like absorb life force, and you can use it. I don't know, like why does it join your side or whatever? But then like once it's done, it goes back to the garden and just becomes a statue again. And in order to like reawaken it, you need the wit and you need blood, and then you also got to like offer it food and like life to steal. So it's not really like the Odorlings. I thought they were going to be like these good beings or something that were like off in their own realm of the Odorlings, but apparently they're just like kind of like blood demon statues that you bring to life and you use them to like eat people with. Like that's not satisfying. How does that work? And then if you don't give them enough, you fall back to the earth and like you get stuck in the earth, and it's like, what the hell's going on with that? And it's just like, so when you use the dragon statues or whatever you make, right? One of them was a pig, so it's not always got to be a dragon either. So like, what happened to the pig? Did the pig just like run? All the dragons were flying and the pig was just running? I don't understand that. If you haven't read the book, you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But it's like, you don't really understand at the end. So you find out the dragons that are like stealing everybody's life force, they're forging people pretty much the same way that the Red Ship Raiders were forging people. And like the Red Ship Raiders, instead of being like the bad guys, they were really like getting revenge from like maybe 100 or so years before, when the other side were the bad guys that you've been rooting for the whole time. This was like a back and forth constant struggle between like, well, I'm going to steal all of your souls. Well, I'm going to go steal all your souls now. Like 100 years have passed between each time. So everybody forgets that that's why they're doing it. And it's just like, I don't know, is the white ship supposed to be like the Elderlings for the Raiders? Or, I guess we'll find out in the next trilogy with them. I gotta fix this auto zooming shit. I don't know. I'm done talking about this. Was there anything else I was going to mention about the pack thing with the wolf? The wolf's fucking dope. Night Eyes. Yeah, that was his name. Man, there was a black guy in my hometown named White Eyes growing up, so that's kind of... whatever. 5 out of 5 anyway. Great book. Long, but worth it. But now I can move on to other things. I finished the Far Seer trilogy.